See, that's the problem right there. We always let them control the narrative. You can't let them control the narrative. Anytime you hear the word reparations, it's always the same thing. It's always the same argument. They always come to you with the same shit. And that is, slavery was a long time ago. Or, I ain't had nothing to do with slaves. I didn't put anybody in slavery. You know, it's it's that old argument. It's that old argument. Make it seem like, man, it's been, what, 150 years? Y'all should be done with that by now. I keep hearing a great point being brought up that the existence of America, in the existence of America, there have been more years with slavery than not with slavery. So just let that sink in. But that's beside my point here. When it comes to our people and what our folks, our ancestors, what they endured during the years of slavery, yeah, that's a big part of reparations. Yeah, you guys promised us our 40 acres and then assassinated Abraham and then he want to give it to us no more. But that's another story as well. But when you talk about reparations, break it down. Reparations is repair. You're paying to repair what you broke. You ain't just break it during slavery. Because let's not forget, and everybody should know this, slavery still exists. Slavery has never ended. And no, I'm not talking about some figurative sense, some analogy, trying to compare the 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 impact of slavery to now with discrimination, bias, blah blah blah. No, the hell is it? The 13th Amendment that freed the slaves allegedly. When you look in the Constitution, please look in the Constitution. Slavery is still legal. They just got to lock you up first. And who gets locked up the most? Ding. Anyway, don't let them control the narrative when it comes to reparations. Reparations are to repair what you broke in the black community, period. That extends well beyond slavery. It extends to this day. I mean, shit. Trayvon, George, Philando, on and on and on. But either way, after slavery ended, let's go step by step. Slaves were freed. Let's say all slaves were freed. Move on from that. Where do slaves have to go? Not a damn place. We ain't own nothing. So then, with this law on, as long as you got people locked up, you can put them back in slavery. Well, then they start grabbing folks. What they start grabbing folks for? Not having papers on them. For loitering. Yes, that's where loitering comes from. They used to just round up slaves because you was in a place they deemed you weren't supposed to be hanging out in. Where else were you going to hang out when you ain't own nothing? You don't got no land. You don't got no home. Then where they put you? Right back on a plantation to work. As a prisoner, not a slave. This is what reparations goes towards. During all this time, after post-slavery, how many lynchings occurred? How many sanctioned killings of black men occurred because the police were in on it? Because they deputized the community to do as they please. And a lot of times we see black men in all these old pictures being hung, white crowds watching. One thing that always kind of was in the back of my mind, but I never truly thought about, where were all the black women? I don't know and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever seen a picture of a black woman being lynched. But through all the YouTube rabbit holes I done been down, through all the people I done watched, the Cornell West and whatnot, dark history when it comes to our women. Yeah, our ancestral men used to be hung, beaten to death. But what you think they did to the women? The same damn thing and worse. Women, these men, when they got through or before they even finished with the man, are in the process of hanging the man, beating on the woman, raping the woman. Reparations. Then you continue on these lynching parties. They went. And then when people start feeling bad about that, then they start throwing on hoods and capes and sheets and shit. So then, hey, it was the KKK. It wasn't white people. It was this group that was doing shit to black folks. Okay. Then, throughout history, post-slavery, until now, white people ain't want black people living with them. Black people had to go off and make their own. They had to build towns, build their own cities, build their own communities, which they started to do. And then you ended up with shit like Ocoee, Florida. I think that's the name of it. Or the one that most people know now, Black Wall Street, the Tulsa Massacre. They just went in, once again, these deputized white folk went in, burned shit down just because they could. Now, of course, some random ass excuse of a black man assaulted somebody. That's always what the case was. Black man assaulted somebody so we can burn down the whole town of thousands of people, kill people, all that stuff, just cause. Reparations. So don't let them control the narrative. Don't let them control the narrative. I remember Amber Ruffin, look her up. She did a piece on black towns that no longer exist because they are underwater. This ain't happened because of a natural disaster. They were put underwater. We know by who? Reparations. I'm just thinking in my mind how far this goes. But we get to segregation, Jim Crow, all those laws. This is when they start getting sort of laws on the books against black people, segregating black people, giving black people lesser than. Reparations. We get the Civil Rights Act. Of course, in order to get that, they kill Malcolm, they kill Martin. Reparations for that too. But we get the Civil Rights Act. So we're equal, right? Are we? Are we? I don't know. Because black people, let's say everything was good. Let's say we made it to this point where the Civil Rights Act was thrown about, and fine and dandy, we're all gonna live happily ever after. Who had a hell of a head start on the other race because of all they've been able to accumulate during all this other time of oppression? Reparations. Don't let them control the narrative. We can go on and on like this forever. It's disappointing because not because of them, because of us, because we should know better. We should do better. We should all be together asking for the same stuff because it's for us. Now, funny enough, I've talked to many white people about this, many coworkers about this, and to some extent, all of them agree that something is old. But then that's where the argument comes in, where it's too much. This is how do we give it to people now? It's easy. We got the technology to do DNA, Or matter of fact, just give it to everybody. Everybody black. We all deserve it in some sense. Redlining. Reparations. Just because we live in certain communities, our homes are worth less. We get paid less to do the same jobs at the same places as y'all. Reparations. If you go like this through everything, you will see the constant. We get put in jail at a much higher rate, get arrested, get sentenced at with longer sentences for the same charges. Let's not even mention the Indians, the Japanese, the Jews. All these other groups got reparations. Slave owners got reparations. Reparations. So anyway, I just wanted to do that little thing there. This is Roy. Next Phase Black, all the time, worldwide. Y'all have a good night.